Hello everybody. So Behavior posted news on the Steam page called Killboxes, Outpost Validation and More Explained. Going over a little bit about what they think about Killboxes, what they think about players needing to finish their own bases before they can get posted. Besides this Steam post, they also made a Reddit post that actually goes into some of these questions a little bit more in detail and covers a whole lot more questions. I'll be reading through the post that they made on the subreddit, Meet Your Maker Game. I'll also link it in the description below. So I'm just going to run through the post and I'll bring up some points whenever I see something that's worthwhile. What is the team's stance on killboxes and what will be done about them? Our goal is to give as much freedom as we possibly can to the builder to use the tools at their disposal to make the most fun, brutal, ingenious, artistic level they can and be rewarded for it. However, with any user-generated content game, it's certain that a portion of the content will not be to the liking of all players. Our objective is therefore for raiders to grant the agency to choose what outpost they want to play and the freedom to curate their own experience. So basically they're saying that killboxes are here to stay. It's not something that they are gonna look into, forbid, or prohibit in any way. Instead, they're gonna try to make sure that players can modulate their own experience through danger score, advisor boost, and the abandoned outpost feature. The advisor boost as a counter to killboxes is a little bit flawed. The advisor only says the top two defenses, how many traps in total and how many guards, and a harvester length, but these won't never really scream this is gonna be a killbox, right? So while the advisor boost definitely does help in choosing which outpost to raid, it will never straight up tell you this is gonna be a killbox. And the abandoned outpost feature here is the big thing that came to mind as soon as I read this. The problem with this is how the ranking system works, right? If you leave, you get, if you're on monster level, you get minus 150 something points if you leave an abandoned outpost, because it's not something that you want to play. This is something that they're going to be removing. On the one hand, this seems like a good change. On the other hand, I am a little bit scared. With this new change, say I run a large brutal map and I die 3 times. Now, if I finish the map, I get minus 30 rank points. If I quit it, I don't lose anything and I can go on to the next map and try to beat that map flawlessly. So this isn't necessarily a problem with people being able to choose how they want to enjoy Meet Your Maker. I feel like the freedom of the game is one of the things that make the game really good, but it does come back to an issue with how the ranked system is implemented in the game. The current ranked system rewards players for playing carefully instead of pushing them to take bigger risks and challenge harder and harder maps. It takes longer to learn how to finish a large brutal. It takes more depth, and at the end of learning how to beat a large map, you will be rewarded with negative rank points. And I know that rank point isn't the end all be all to Meet Your Maker, but the psychological effect of punishing somebody for taking on a harder challenge seems counterintuitive to what behavior wants to foster. I obviously don't have the numbers that behavior have on like how many people actually raid brutals compared to normals and dangerous. I don't have all of that statistics. I only have my own feeling and what I hear people within my community are saying. What I've seen mirrored as well in the conversation within the community is that the rank system as it's implemented right now doesn't feel good. It doesn't award people for actually taking risks. Now, I'm not going to lay out a huge plan for how I think that the ranked system should be revamped. Maybe that's a topic for a completely different video when I've had more time to think about it. But honestly speaking, I'm not sure if a ranked system makes sense at all in a game like Meet Your Maker. Why are we not requesting that builders validate their own outposts before publishing? This is similar, if not directly connected to the killbox debate. Our goal has always been to give player the Our goal has always been to give players the maximum amount of freedom possible to create their outposts. The greater the freedom, the greater the possibility of the creations. Obviously, this can come with risk. We had reached a point where impossible outposts were implausible to create, so we felt confident with allowing players to build what they want without having to play them. As we add more and more gameplay elements to the game, if it were proven to be possible to build an unbeatable outpost, we would make changes to correct this. The advantage of this approach is that it allows great builders to build great content with no other barrier. They can be great builders without having to be great raiders too. This allows the greatest amount of quality content to be created. And this is actually something that I have been saying on stream a lot as well, when people bring up the point that there should be a Super Mario Maker kind of check that the creator can beat their own map. And I've always been a little bit negative towards that, because I feel like this game should give the possibility to people to be better builders than they are FPS gamers. Some people think that it is super fun to build maps, but don't think it's super fun to raid, or are not super good at raiding. And I feel like that's a kind of beautiful thing that some people can primarily build. They'll obviously still have to raid to a certain extent, because currently it is almost impossible to maintain 5 bases purely through building, but at least they can put maybe a heavier focus on the building. I feel that having people validate their own outposts will not necessarily reduce the issues that some people think it will reduce either. For example, any kill box that I build, obviously I'll have a greater knowledge about how to beat it. You would also see people building specific skips that they might know about, but that will be very niche or hard for other players to find. I also think that maces are gonna be even worse than they have been before. But overall, I know that this is a hot topic in the community. Currently, I'm on the stance that keeping it as is probably the better choice, but I do see the point for validation as well. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Let's move on to the next question. Would you consider a way to keep mastered outposts active? The goal of the game economy is always about ensuring there are enough raids on outposts that are put up, and as long as this wouldn't impact the overall raids per outpost ratio, we would look into it. However, it would not be free. You would still have to refill the outpost with using synthite. So basically they are open to it, but it's not something that they're going to be implementing right now. But I assume that if behavior see that this stat that apparently they're looking at, the raids per outpost ratio, if they see this number change in a way that they don't like, then it's something that they will be implementing. One thing with this raids per outpost ratio though is that due to how the game system is set up, players consistently need to push out new outposts into the outpost pool. So I don't see how that outpost pool is going to shrink to a degree that mastered outposts are going to be needed to fill those raid slots. Many players are giving feedback that the ranking system is difficult to progress through. Any plans to change it? The intention is to provide players with a medium to long-term goal in terms of achieving that master rank that represents your skill in the game. We have witnessed issues in the way we want this to work, and we're going to be addressing these soon. We're monitoring the speed and rewards of ranking progression through building and raiding, and will adjust to make sure that each tier feels satisfying. I do hope that the addressing will also address these field bads that I was talking about before, and not just the grind that it takes to get to master. It is a grind to get to master, but you will always progress forward, but it is a grind more than a representation of your skill in the game. That's just straight up true. It is not a representation of your skill, it's a representation of your time put in. What will you do about cheaters, hackers? No one likes a cheater. If you spot a player using cheats hack, report them straight away. I actually haven't seen a lot of replays where it looks like they are hacking. I have not felt that this is a widespread issue, but that's just from my view. Let me know in the comments if you have seen a lot of hackers on your outposts. How does the game determine what qualifies as a normal, dangerous, or brutal outpost? We have a danger score system that attributes points to all defenses. Specific positions and combinations of traps will alter that score as well. We have built an opaque system on purpose in order to prevent players from exploiting the scoring system, thus making it more difficult to push very difficult outposts in the easier brackets. So what they're saying here is that they're not going to be more transparent on how the danger tracking system works, which makes sense because they don't want to have people that game the system. That doesn't mean that it will stop people in the community to try to figure out roughly how the tracking system works. Overall, I still think that the danger tracking system is fine. The only thing that is confusing is that sometimes the danger rating will shift in a way that feels wonky. I will add a trap to an outpost. It pushes the rating from dangerous to brutal. I will remove that specific trap, but the rating will stay brutal. And now all of a sudden I'm stuck removing 2 more traps to get the rating back down to dangerous. So I would say that there is still something with the calculation that needs to be looked at. Sometimes these shifts become very frustrating to deal with. Next question. Will anything be done about players killing the harvester on spawn with the death piston trap? I hate this so much. It's so annoying. You can kill it, like you can destroy the piston fast enough if you know that it's gonna happen. But if I load in, I'm not expecting it to happen. I look at chat, I miss it, then I need to restart the level to be able to destroy the piston, which basically means that I die once on an outpost straight away just to remove the death piston. Anyway, their answer. There are ultimately 2 categories of killing the harvester. What is considered fair in game and what is considered unfair. Ideally, we want to prevent any situation where the harvester is killed without the raider having any chances to prevent it from happening. As an example, we are looking into fixing traps that are placed directly where the harvester spawns. However, it is a dangerous world out there and poor Harvey will still succumb to devious builder contraptions if raiders are not careful. So the piston is the easiest and cleanest way to do it because it takes less capacity, but there is a way to do it that is a little bit harder, but one that I think that people will be going for instead. So I'm going to show this on a fresh outpost. So overall, this is going to cost 30 more capacity than a piston trap, but this can be placed up further in, and I don't see how there's any way that they're going to be able to avoid this, except maybe making Harvey immune to dead man switch explosions. And there's not really any way to block this, since even if you get an arc barrier down in time, since there's a slide, it will just slide straight into the barrier and still kill Harvey. Which means that if you think that removing the pistons killing Harvey in the beginning is actually gonna help, that is not the case. Next question. Will there be new traps, guards, suits, etc.? This is an obvious yes. This is something that they've already showcased. They showcased that Retro is going to be coming out. I don't think we knew this before, that is coming out at the end of June. But the new Custodian, Weapon, Trap, and Guard, we already knew that that was coming. We also have already seen the Custodian, and we have seen the Trap. So we don't know what the Custodian's perks are going to be. We do have a little bit more information on the Trap, but not a whole lot more. But I'm very excited to see all this stuff coming up. So the Custodian, you can actually see already in the promo material for Dreadshore. And you can tell that this is probably going to be the Custodian suit because, well, there's an arm chest piece right there. This is likely the head, and it has 03 written right on it. And this is in line with the other suits. You can see that Ironside has a 01 right there, and the Kamaitachi has a 02 right there. The laser beams pointing to the suit is probably a reference to the new trap. You could see this trap in the tips and tricks trailer called a sentry beam. This is most likely going to be the new trap released together with Dreadshore. Sentry beam tracks its target before firing a laser beam that bounces off surfaces, triggers until destroyed for 50 capacity. So that's all the information we have on the new suit and the new trap right now. I think that this sounds super interesting, bouncing off surfaces. It sounds like something that could really help deter those pesky speedrunners. We don't really have more info about what the suit does right now. We have the Ironside that focuses on ranged. We have the Kamaitachi that focuses on melee. From that, maybe the Dreadshore suit is going to be focusing on hardware, because there's currently nothing that really focuses on amplifying the hardware side of the game. But, you know, we'll see. I'm excited to see what that's going to be about. So, moving on, would you consider giving more movement options to Harvey to make the path less straightforward? The answer is very unlikely, and the reason for this is quite similar to the Killbox discussion. We use the Harvester rule to guide players into creating levels that fit our criteria, even if it means some of those are extremely clever or tough. The potential players will have if we free the Harvester is more concerning than we would like. We believe allowing it will lead to content far less entertaining than anything we have seen so far. We prototyped this gameplay very early and for a long time. The result was the emergence of outposts where the only trick was simply confusing the raider. Not knowing where to go was just not fun at all. Players would simply quit out of boredom. It was deeply unfun, and so the Harvester path was born. If you want to create outposts where the Harvester path is not required, you can always use the social activation option. Social activation will not provide any progression, but it doesn't require a valid Harvester path, so feel free to play around with those possibilities. I feel like it's a little bit of a shame that they closed this discussion off with a very unlikely. I feel like Harvester mods could have a lot of potential for builders, and I'm not talking about freeing the Harvester movement completely, but I'm talking about stuff that may be allowing Harvey for a capacity, cost. For example, if it was a trap or a mod that you would have to put on the ground to launch the Harvester from one location to another, that would clearly show to the player where Harvey is going and coming from. So I feel like there are ways to do this and still not get these kind of maps that they're talking about in the second paragraph. Next question, is the revive feature in cooperating giving an unfair advantage? Our intent with co-op was always to allow raiders who are struggling with the one-shot kill aspect of the game to access some of the cooler and tougher content in the game. We knew through data that players in co-op were way more likely to die, which presents a great trade-off. After all, even though a raider is revived, their death is still counted towards the total amount of kills in the outpost and the builders reap the rewards. Yeah, what is giving co-op raiders an unfair advantage is not the revive, it's the fact that they have literally twice the hardware and ammunition. If anything, that is what's the unfair advantage. The revive feature is only beneficial towards the builder. Will there ever be more tools to rate other players' outposts, either positively for enjoyable ones or negatively for outposts that are not fun or unfair? Our intent is to have quality outposts surfacing through positive reinforcement only. This is an important concept for us. We will constantly be monitoring the feedback, and we already heard it about the Killbox, and we'll be looking at ways we can ensure the community finds the content it wants and avoids what it doesn't. I don't think that being able to negatively rate outposts is a good idea. Fun in Meteor Maker is a way too subjective thing to have a thumbs up, thumbs down kind of system. The current accolade system is fine by itself, with the one caveat that people don't give them enough. Way too many people in the community skip over accolades, and they are so important for being able to prestige outposts, especially large, brutal maps. So right now, the issue with being able to rate another player's outpost is not that we don't have enough tools, it's that we are not using the tools presented to us. And that in turn turns into a question for behavior. What can we do to actually make sure that people want to use the tools that we have provided them? And that is something that I feel like behavior still needs to look at. What will you do about players blocking off the Forsaken Tombs? I have heard that new players might believe that the Forsaken Tombs loot actually comes out from their synthite, their parts, like their resources. So if somebody breaks them, they will actually lose some of their stuff. That is not the case. That's not how it works. And if people believe that, then it's up to behavior to really make sure that people understand what the Forsaken Tombs are in the tutorial. And the first time that you build an outpost, it should clearly state, this does not come from your resources. This is an extra thing. Use it to your advantage, build around it, trap it, but don't block it off. Synthite is hard enough to come by as it is. Be a little bit kind to your fellow custodian and don't block off the Forsaken Tombs. The rest of the questions are all just related to mechanics, plans for a field of view slider on consoles, can't do that right now because of performance issues, plans for allowing control remapping on console. If you want that, make sure that you state that towards behavior through the feedback form, or just, I don't know, tweet at Meteor Maker saying, please let me remap. Are there plans for allowing mouse and keyboard usage on consoles? And since it's fully crossplay, there's no reason to prevent this, so hopefully they'll be able to implement that soon. And then it's what's that trap in your tips and tricks trailer, and we've already talked about that. It is the Sentry Beam, which is going to be coming with the Red Shore patch. And that is it for the Q&A with the dev team from April, and overall a lot of interesting information, but more than anything I'm very happy to see this level of communication from behavior regarding their game design choices and their philosophy when it comes to a lot of these questions. I might not agree with all of it, but I'm happy to see the communication so that it feels like a dialogue between the community and the developers. Let me know what you thought about this Q&A in the comments. If you'd like to see more Meteor Maker content, remember to subscribe. If you want to see us play live, come join us at twitch.tv/greycatgg. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.